All righty, folks, we're back with you, and by popular demand, we've had people calling and asking and stopping me on the street and wanting to know more about Roger Reaves, one of the greatest drug smugglers of all times and a super, super nice guy. Good morning, Roger. How are you this morning?
And to you, Stephen. How are you?
I'm good. I got to sleep a little later than you did, but anyway, folks, go check out Smuggler by Roger Reaves. You're going to love the read. It's just one thing after another, and these guys here are just wanting to ask questions right and left. But anyway, I want to know something. You know, I was reading the book, and it just kind of, you know, this stuff that it's so great. I mean, honestly. But anyway, you actually had a little thing in Georgia there at one point that you kind of got involved in. Can you talk about that?
Well, I started off with some moonshine. I was about to lose a farm. Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah. I was thinking more about the 40-acre marijuana field in Plains, Georgia.
It was 245 acres. It caught with 245 tons.
Good Lord.
Biggest bust in American history.
Wow.
Oh, yes. I hauled a load of marijuana up from it was down in Mexico, that place. I can't remember the state where it was. But anyway, that stuff was seedy. It was full of big black seeds. And I had an old DC-3, and I swept up a whole suitcase full of them. And I had a friend back in Georgia says, I plant this stuff. So he had a field way back there in the backwoods there, and 245 acres under pivot irrigation. So he went in there and planted corn, and every other row he put the marijuana seed in it. And so that stuff got that. I believe every seed come up.
And then some.
It was a sea of marijuana. So I said, we can't get locally up on this. So I went way down in the southern part of Mexico where mostly Indians live, and I got 7 young fellas, and I brought them back. And we come across the Rio Grande. That was quite a trip, and them fellas with the long Indian hair. And I got out to Los Angeles, and I took them to a barber shop and got them a haircut and went and got some clothes, and we got on an airplane. They didn't know how to go. They jumped up on them at the airport. It was funny. They'd never seen an escalator. They get on that, and then when we got on the airplane, they didn't know how to buckle the seat belts and all. Anyhow, we just had a fine trip across the country, and we got back and took them down there, and they worked hard all summer.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't leave the place at all. They was waiting on that money to. So right when the stuff got ready, I mean, it was a sea of marijuana. We figured it was 245 tons.
Golly.
So the fellows on the land, there was 4 of us got in the deal, and we'd hauled, I guess, 20 semi-truckloads of chicken manure out there and spread it out. That thing was rank. It had colas on top of it bigger than your arm, just as far as you could see. So we started harvesting it, and we didn't have nowhere to put it, so we just put it on cotton sheets all down the road. And there was a fella with his ex-wife come around the gate on a little motorcycle, and he saw it, and he stole one of them sheets of marijuana. Well, the men on the land just went crazy. Oh, boy, get that stuff off of my land, get it off. And I said, I know who did it already before dark, I found out. I said, we'll send it to Mexico. No, you give me $400,000 and I'll go to Mexico. And he started taking an old hammerless pistol around. And I said, fellas, it's $1 billion crop. There's no good in that. No, he wouldn't have it. So I took my 7 Mexicans and took them back to Mexico. And I said, well, I want nothing to do with it then now. Go on. So after I left 2 or 3 days later, he got his courage back. And so they went to town and to Albany and got a load of young fellas and brought them out there and started with machetes and stuff, cutting that stuff. Well, you know how long that lasted.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So one of them told, and they couldn't even find a place after that. But anyhow, it was huge. And some of it was stored up on the farm that I had next to Jimmy Carter's up at Plains.
Right.
This was in in Coffee County, Georgia, down near Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyhow, it hit the news, and Paul Harvey kept on it with the rest of the story. We're looking for the big rooster in California.
Oh, you the rooster. That is so funny. I mean, you know, that's an honor within itself to be on the Paul Harvey
That was a big honor.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. So anyway,
He kept me on there a year.
that is so funny. The rest,
But
of
I
the
didn't get
story.
indicted with it. The other three went to prison for it, and my friend that was helping with, he got 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he was getting through with his sentence, finishing it up, him and the warden went down for Florida fishing.
Right.
Well, he was in charge of the dogs, and that fella turned them in, and the little guy down at Thomasville, Georgia, gave him 10 years.
Wow.
For escape. The warden had his gun with him. Wasn't no escape. They had I went to see the judge and talked to him one Sunday morning, and he changed it the next day to probation. And then a few weeks later, me and my friend Johnny was arrested for continuing criminal enterprise that carries up to life in prison.
Wow.
I know where that come from.
Oh, yeah. Now, folks, this story he's talking about, if you get the book Smuggler, there's a whole lot more to it than what he's telling you on the show because we just got a few minutes. But this is so interesting. Jim Richter wanted to ask you a question, I think. He's got several wrote down here, but we're going to have to shorten
We'll
them
make
up.
it quick. Well, the first question is, are there any good tips or pointers that you have for my buddy Mr. Phillips over here? Because he just bought him a plane, and I think he's getting he's getting a little tired of working all these different jobs, and he's kind of looking to improve his finances.
No, Roger, don't answer that, please.
Well, I certainly can. I can tell you just exactly how to do it. You go down there and get you a load, and you're coming back at night, and you pick out a light on a hill or somewhere on a ranch. You're coming across that Sonora Desert. It's about 1,000 miles across that thing, and you push the plane right down until that light goes out. Then you know there's something between you and that light, and you pull it back up gently until you can see that light, and then you hold it there and hope there's no power line between you and that light.
Oh, boy, that sounds exciting.
That light, you pick out another one.
I got a 172 now. Let's put this in perspective. Well,
He's going to carry 5 pounds back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think he's interested in finding about how to add an extra fuel tank.
Oh, I don't know, man. A 172, that's just not going to work.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
No, that right seat turning. They make fuel tanks that just look just like that right seat, and it takes care of enough for 2 or 3 more hours.
Wow, that's
you
cool.
go.
Did not know that.
And so that relates to my question, Roger, is this. You read on the news about, smugglers bringing drugs over the border in a variety of ways, whether it be an airplane. Sometimes you hear about submarines. Obviously, they can bring it over by rail and all this kind of stuff. What is the most innovative way when you were working down there with the cartel and Mr. Escobar and all that you saw or heard about them transporting drugs over the border?
When I was doing it, was all through the 70s and up until 1982. It was just straight. You go down there and land. They throw you a load in, and I used to land in Belize and refuel, and then fly on back, and I'd come up through the oil wells up there through Louisiana. There are hundreds of oil wells off that coast, maybe 1,000 of them. And late in the afternoon, just about dark, there'd be 30 or 40 helicopters coming back in with crew, and I just slow that baby down and come right in with them.
But now you flew all the way into Arkansas a lot, delivering that. That just seemed like a long. I guess the safety of being able to land in Arkansas without worry. I mean, was that worth the extra fuel and all that you had going on?
Well, I never did land in Arkansas. Barry Seal was the one that had that. He worked for me. I landed all the cocaine down in southern Louisiana, and right on out to Texas. I followed Interstate 10 as they were building it.
Right.
And that was just a wonderful runway. It was 100 miles long, white, and beautiful. They had to have somebody go out there and make sure there wasn't a tractor or something. And this truck had a big million candle white light on it. He turned it on when I came right over the truck, and they'd be gone in 5 minutes.
And this story is also in the book Smuggler, talking about landing on actually a interstate that they were building. They run out of money for, which made a perfect deal for Roger. So now you just want to ask about the thing down in that.
Well, I was just curious if you had much in terms of contacts, and you don't have to name any names or get specific, but did you have much to do with people in Miami when you were involved in this business?
No, I didn't. We had one fellow that I'd bring the cars down. I had cars I never wanted to see again. I had 2 people buying cars with shock absorbers and new tires, and I would point to the cars and he would pick, and his name was Lito, Luis Carlos Bustamante. He did 20 years down in federal prison. So I didn't have anything to do with any of the rest of them. I lived on Key Biscayne with Bobo Rebozo, and it was right down the street from me, but I didn't know any of them.
Well, I was just curious because back in about the time you were doing your business, I was a prosecutor in the state of Georgia, a state-level prosecutor, and so we did have some busts that I'd prosecuted, and a lot of the drugs we were seeing were coming in via Miami or in the Florida area back at the time.
I had a friend, Jimmy Crafton. Did you prosecute him?
No, I did not. Did not know him.
You know he was going to say no regardless, right?
Yeah, we're saying no.
Oh, but that's all right. Somebody had to keep the price up.
Well, that's right. Well, I'm glad I helped you then. No, although there was one fellow, I won't name his name, but his daddy came to the courtroom. This fellow was actually a Colombian, and the guy got convicted of trafficking, and I think they sentenced him to the mandatory minimum, something like 25 years. And his daddy got up in court and threatened the detective and threatened me and the judge and everybody, and it was quite a brouhaha.
I reckon so.
Yeah, it was.
he probably meant it at the time.
I took it seriously, and the DeKalb County Police Department sent police cars to my house for a while to kind of make sure that nobody was trying to mess with things.
So now tell us something. You ended up in Australian prison. You ended up in prison in Australia. I mean, that seemed like way down under. How did you end up connected with all that in Australia?
Well, I escaped from a German prison,
right,
and I didn't have much money left. So the Colombians down there owed me $3.5 million. So I went to see them. And, of course, they wouldn't pay me the money, but they give me a job to take a load of cocaine to Australia and said they'll pay me, I believe it was 20% of the load, which would have been about $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and took a oil supply vessel and took it all the way around the Cape of Good Hope, South America, Africa, and went down in right close to Antarctica and came up under Australia and unloaded that thing. And the fellow that was meeting me had a fellow working with the federal police, and I got arrested right there with $400 million worth of cocaine. I got a life sentence down there.
So when you told him it was
Jimmy,
do what now?
And Mr. Jimmy Carter, a couple of years ago, wrote a little note to the Attorney General of Australia asking him if he'd consider me for Roger Reaves, his neighbor, for parole. And so I did get parole 2 years ago and came on home.
Oh, well, that's great. Jimmy Carter did that?
Yeah, he sure did it for me. I got a copy up with him.
You know, a lot of people talk about Jimmy Carter, but now Jimmy Carter was rock and roll. He loved rock and roll, and he was all about that. So how about that?
He was a good person. Just, I think, since Abraham Lincoln, one of the best ones we've had.
Yeah, he is. They said that you've heard all kinds of stories about him being on planes and shaking hands with everybody on the plane before he gets off.
So I've got another question for you, sir. When you watch movies about smugglers and drug dealers and all, it's like you get the impression that none of them can trust each other, that everybody is just a step away from getting killed by their partner in crime. But you talk about going back down there to get $2.5 million they owed you. Apparently you did that without a lot of fear. I mean, is that a reality like what you see in the movies, that you basically are always looking over your shoulder when you're working for these folks, or is it run like a business and you have a fair amount of respect for each other? What is that like?
Well, I found it just people, just like you're buying potatoes or anything. Nobody wants to kill you if you go buy some potatoes and give them the money for it. And if you go steal the potatoes or the cocaine and tell on them, then you're fair meat.
Sure. But when you were working with Pablo Escobar and these folks, did you ever fear for your life that these guys may turn on you or just not feel like paying you a few $1 million one day?
No, it wasn't like that at all. I mean, I was their golden boy. They were looking like I was what they were after, man. They protected me with any which way they could. Just be surprised I'd land and they'd have, you'd have something to eat there. They'd cook it up there in the jungle. It'd already be there, cooked up rice, beans, and steak, whatever you wanted. They'd wash that airplane. There'd be 2 or 3 of them on it, clean the windshield and fuel it up and slap you on the back and shake hands and wish you luck. It wouldn't be like we betting $100 it won't take off on this strip too little. I said something like one time the strip was too short. I went back down and said, listen, that's after I quit flying and I had pilots flying for me. I said, so they said when they went back down, it looked like an international airport through the jungle. It was it was 7,000 feet long. They put bulldozers in there and cleaned it up.
That's one of the things, a lot of folks have seen that movie American Made, and actually, I know the guy that works on our plane was actually one of the stunt pilots for that movie.
Right.
But you talk about it, I mean, there's not a whole lot of truth in that movie. I mean, is there anything in that movie that actually has got any truth to it at all other than actually them taking out Barry Seals at the end?
I couldn't see anything. I mean, when you go down there, it was just so far-fetched that they're going to put a gun to you and take your sunglasses when you land to haul a load for them. Somebody was insane to write something like that. Are they going to bet you can't take off, or his brother-in-law was stealing stuff out of the money stacked up like that? Barry was a intelligent man, and he was a really nice person.
Right.
So that wasn't true at all. But I believe he had flown with the CIA over in Southeast Asia. He knew about the Panther conversions, and he was an excellent pilot. So all that, but him coming through the oil wells with 5 different airplanes talking to the DEA and throwing it out of the plane, there was no such stuff as that.
Yeah. But
He
I mean,
was
people
landed completely protected.
That's the thing. They just think that Hollywood, when they say based on a true event, actually is not based very much. I think they just get to say that to sell tickets. But now you're
Somebody
flying.
sitting in a rocking chair
Yeah.
thought about that's how it could have been, and they had no idea.
But I'm gonna tell you, folks. Roger Reaves. I have got to talk to him a lot. We've actually become pretty good friends over the past few days. Sweet man, you are just an absolutely sweetheart guy. No wonder everybody liked you down there. I mean, even though you had the big planes and did all that, I mean, that's got a lot to say with it for us that. But now you're flying again. You're back in the captain's chair, out flying, and all. How's that going? No upside down.
I got a friend of mine. He invited me to fly an old Twin Beach from back in the 1950s. We flew it out to Arizona here the other day and landed, and that was fun. He's an airline pilot, so I was trying to keep it right on course and right on the altimeter, right on the altitude. But it was bouncing around pretty good bit, and he laughed at me. But we had a good time.
I'm gonna tell you, folks, y'all need to go check out this book, Roger Reaves. Some of the stuff that he was involved in. I mean, I'm gonna tell you just a brief thing. He was in I think a DC-3 when I think it was your sister kicked off the fuel line.
Yes, it was. Oh boy, she got drunk. I said, "Go back there." And it was up 11,000 feet, and it was cold. I said, "Get on some of my clothes." And I looked back there, and she had my clothes wrapped around her. It was a stormy night going across the Gulf of Mexico. We was about 300 or 400 miles out there, and both engines just quit. And it was dark, and the rain standing against that windshield. Woo! I looked around, there was nothing looked like. And then I looked around, and there was 2 big tanks on each side, and they had a hose with the middle with a lever, and her foot was on that. She'd turned the fuel off.
Oh, jeez.
By the time I could run back there, it done turned up on its side and got that thing on. When I turned it on, both engines fired at the same time. Nearly threw me to the back of the plane. I had to crawl back up there. That thing was about to unverted.
I mean, honestly, that is just awesome. That's a whole movie right there. Now you've got before we go, I know we ain't got much time, but you're actually in talks with a mini series that maybe we get to watch this.
Yeah, they are. They have the writers that wrote Concrete Cowboys are writing. They said they have a deck already laid out for 30 episodes for 3 series.
Mm-hmm.
So they getting ready to do the pilot on that now.
That is going to be awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if y'all read the book, there's enough in it. I mean, just like that one thing right there. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I'm not a pilot as good as Steve over here, but could you imagine having to get out of the captain's chair by yourself, go back, turn the fuel back on to save your life?
Yeah, no. But I do know that you're going to do it, though. I know you're going to do it. So,
but this is the thing, Roger. I mean, honestly, you're the kind of guy I want to be in there with, because when you're with somebody that's calm, cool, and collective, that's like my brother flies. He's a corporate pilot. And the guy he was flying with, their plane quit, And David was kind of in training at that point, and he asked him, he said, what do we do? And he said, you wind your watch. And he's like, what?
That's right.
You wind your watch. And he said, why would I want to do that? He said, it gives you time to think. But I mean, you're always thinking.
That's right.
Jeez. Oh, I love it, man. I do. But anyway, it's been good. Roger, I hate to get you up so early and get to talk so little. But anyway, thank you so much for coming back. So many people want to hear back from you. And like I said, y'all go check out Smuggler by Roger Reaves. It's all over everywhere, so you can check out this book. It's on Audible, and that's the way I'm listening to it. And the cool thing about that is Roger actually is reading his book to you, which makes it even more awesome.
That is nice.
Yep. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you, all of you, both of you, Jim, Steve. Been a real pleasure.
Well, if I can get enough gas in my 172, I'm gonna come out there and see you now.
You come on. I'll cook you up some chain gang chicken cacciatore.
Hey, I've heard about that. That's some good stuff, man. That's some good stuff.
I season it with gunpowder.
All righty, man. We appreciate you, Roger.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
All righty, folks, we got to take a short break, go by and see Young Harris Water Sports. I know you probably sat on the lakeside looking at all the fireworks, wishing you was out in the water, but hey, you can be there. Just go by and see Young Harris Water Sports.
Young Harris Water Sports and RV now offering the Supreme Surf Boat Line, along with Hurricane Deck Boats, Godfrey Pontoons, Monterey, Chaparral, Bayliner Bowriders, Low Pontoons, along with both Yamaha and Sea-Doo PWCs and more. Young Harris Water Sports and RV has the area's largest service center, parts and accessory selection, so there's no need to leave the mountains. Young Harris Water Sports and RV at 3676 Highway 76. Online at yhmarineandrv.com.
Let's go!
Looking for buying or selling real estate in the mountains? The Rick Andrews Real Estate Team is here to help. Our team of experts will guide you through the real estate process in the Northeast Georgia and Western North Carolina mountains from the moment you inquire until our last meeting. From luxury lakefront estates and beyond, we're here to make buying and selling a rewarding experience. Visit callrickandrews.com to see our listings or call the Rick Andrews Real Estate Team 828-557-9139.
July is all about freedom. And when it comes to your next vehicle, the place to celebrate that freedom is Jackie Jones Ford in Hayesville.
Freedom to head to the beach in a Ford SUV.
Are we there yet?
Freedom to show the ladies my brand new Mustang.
Freedom to shop at Jackie Jones Ford, knowing I'll drive out with a great car and a great deal.
Family, freedom, and a new Ford at Jackie Jones Ford in Hayesville.
Hiawassee Hardware on Main Street has everything on sale now that you need for digging into your garden work, like Cowart mulches, soils and soil conditioners, pine straw, grass seed and fertilizers. We now feature Cub Cadet riding mowers, Troy-built walk-behind mowers, and we're still the one for top-quality chainsaws, trimmers, blowers, pressure washers, and more. And Hiawassee Hardware has you covered for cleanup as well, with dump carts, trash cans, and more. At Hiawassee Hardware, your store for summertime and a whole lot more.
Warm weather demands a lot from our trucks.
Or towing boats to the lake.
Bed covers to hide work equipment.
Heck, I'd just settle for a cool rain guard for when you need to crack the windows on a hot day.
So Rose Auto is always thinking of ways to get you where you need to go. For bed covers, towing accessories, and great car audio.
It's Rose Auto on the Murphy Highway. The only way to go this summer.
Right. And who has the tailgate rack for the grill? Don't say it, I know. Rose Auto in Blairsville on the Murphy Highway.
Sarah, I'm finally going to do it. It's time for Botox to get rid of these frown lines that make me look angry all the time.
I heard about Dr. Frazier in Blairsville and was really impressed. His Botox technique even improved my eyelids and the corners of my mouth. And his introductory pricing was so affordable.
For your next Botox treatment, schedule with board-certified plastic surgeon William Frazier at 706-439-6486. 706-439-6486.
The Morning Dish.
Young Harris Water Sports says it may be Tuesday, but on the lake, every day's the weekend. Young Harris Water Sports is ranked #1 in customer service and boasts the #1 full marine service department in the mountain area. So make it the best Tuesday ever at Young Harris Water Sports.
All righty, folks, we're back with you. Like I said, go check out Smuggler by Roger Reaves. You're going to really enjoy the read, no doubt about it. And it's pretty neat to get to talk to somebody back. Because, you growing up watching all this stuff, Miami Vice, and you see all this stuff, and then you actually get to talk to the guy. And you think in your mind, you think it's going to be some burly, big, tough guy. It's like, you know, just like the movie with American Made, you know, they had Tom Cruise on there, but actually
who is not a burly, big, tough guy, but
I mean, he looks that way on TV, but actually, you know,
right.
I mean, you know,
Anyway.
Barry Seals was a dumpy fat guy like me.
was.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
But anyway, I can remember the first time I flew, I was scared to death, no doubt about it. I was in a 1967 Plymouth Barracuda going down Thrill Hill. But
First, oh yeah,
that's the first time I ever flew.
I hear you.
Yeah, I ever flew. But anyway, have you had any close calls like that? I mean, like the fuel going out. I mean, you flew all your life pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've had I was flying in one of the planes I had up here in Blairsville and had the engine stop.
Right.
And literally, it wasn't coming back on, setting up for a landing, and finally got it recovered about 1,000 feet.
Right.
And I'm already setting up to land on 129 North.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And finally got it going. But, yeah, you know, I think you fly long enough, you're going to have some strange things pop up. So I had a few other things similar to that. But like you said, you're talking about winding your watch. It's what you do. It's like my dad told me. He goes, look, you get in an emergency-type situation, that's the time you sit back in the cockpit, you put your foot up on the instrument panel, light your cigarette. And the whole point of that is that it's time to sit back and think, be cool, calm, and collected, because you've got limited time to solve the issue. You can't panic.
Can't panic. No.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to Jim Richter here, and I mean, you had this case down there where you had this drug deal, and they threatened your life and all that.
Sure
man.
did.
What was that like, man? I mean, was you not just terrified to go to the grocery store?
No, but then again, I was packing heat. I
Right.
mean, I was prepared to, if I needed to do something to protect myself or my family, I was prepared to do it.
But I'm just sitting there thinking, I mean, it's like Barry Seals, they took him out with a Uzi. I mean, you're probably like me, you carry like a 9mm, you got like 6 shots. Okay, folks, I'm done.
Well, look, if somebody really wants to get you, they can get you.
Right.
I mean, after all, Jeffrey Epstein, I mean, you know, he committed suicide in prison, right?
Yeah, he did. That's what they keep telling
That's what they say.
That's what they keep telling us.
We're trying to keep our YouTube channel, so
Yeah, that's
all I'll
right.
say about that.
No, life goes on. You know,
Right.
I was more worried about my wife and my kid
Right.
at the time. We had one child at the time, and you know, the police department was real good. They came out and they patrolled the neighborhood and just looked out for a while. And you know, it was kind of interesting that series of events was what convinced my wife that maybe I wasn't so insane after all about this Second Amendment stuff. You
Right.
know? I mean, literally, you know, you got to have some means to be able to take care of yourself and your family.
But you know, I mean, honestly, of course, and I know drugs and blah, 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 and you go back and forth, and everybody's got their own opinion on it. But they actually, you know, like Miami was built on cocaine. I mean, is that not the truth? I mean, honestly, Miami was built, and of course, it's, you know, I don't know where it's at now. They say it's very dangerous and all that kind of stuff. But back then, I mean, they'd say these guys would come in to a establishment and they'd drop $100,000 on lunch, you know?
Well, there's also a certain point of view we won't get into deep today, but that certain aspects of the banking system have been helped out significantly by under the radar money.
Yeah, and it is a big business on both sides. I mean, in my opinion, now this is my opinion only, but you figure like the drugs come in, it's like, you know, Roger said, well, thank you for keeping the price up, because, you know, I mean, you did. But then you also got on the other side, you got the DEA and all them. I mean, you know, there's a lot of jobs in the DEA that are funded to fight, you know, drugs. So there's money on both sides.
That's right. If it was all legalized, what would happen to all of those prisons and those agents and everything?
We wouldn't
else?
have a good book like Smuggler by Roger Reaves.
That's right. That's for sure.
Dadgummit. Anyway, Thank you for spending a little time with us. And remember, you can tune in every morning at WJULradio.com at 8 a.m. Eastern. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook, The Morning Dish.